Hi. Last time, quite a while ago, we were talking about self-denial as a treasure. But it's only a treasure if we practice it every day. Like Jesus instructed, we need to deny ourselves every day. Like when we're angry or frustrated, annoyed, impatient, or even confused. Practicing self-denial means we take the time we need to simmer down, to find a better way to communicate frustration, or remember that we annoy others also, or we take the time to think about being patient, and most importantly, take the time to pray about the things that confuse us. Hopefully, it's becoming a treasure for you because of the practice you put in every day. I know it's hard, it's not easy, but when we work at it, it will be a treasure. But I also brought up in that video the idea of self-care because sometimes when we're thinking, I have to deny myself every day, daily, then when do I have time to think about myself? Or is it even wrong to think about myself? And so I did say we would be talking more about that. And what does it mean to take care of ourselves? Because I believe God has set the example for us to be able to do that. Our society today, places a lot of focus and emphasis on ourselves, doing what we want to do, taking care of ourselves, exercising, that kind of thing, but also, do what makes you feel happy. And, sometimes we can think, well, that's true. If I don't, then who will? And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, because I found that the best self-care for me is knowing that there is someone else who has my back, who has my best interest at heart, and who can help me learn how to take care of myself in the best way possible. So today we're going to talk about what I'm calling God care. And we need to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God cares deeply for us. Nahum 1:7 says God cares for those who trust in him. 1 Peter 5:7 says that we are to cast all our anxiety on him because he cares for us. In Matthew 6, it says, Jesus says that God cares enough to know about the number of hairs on our head. He says he cares about the birds of the air and for the flowers of the field. He makes them beautiful, he feeds them, and then asks, if that is how he cares for those things, how much more will he care for us, since we are more valuable than all of those creations? The question is, do we really believe that? And I hope you do, because that is where self-care really starts. So here's a little video that will demonstrate what I mean when I say God care. Good morning, everyone. Okay, so here we're out in my little bird sanctuary garden again, and I just want to say I am the worst gardener ever, but there's something out here that I wanted to show you that is kind of cool to me, because during the winter things kind of die on me. If you can see, this one has all kinds of dead branches and stuff, but I just leave them here because in the spring, they will start sprouting. Like, I thought maybe these were weeds. I pulled it out, and guess what? There were roots under there to the plant. Okay, so 7 weeks ago, I showed you this plant that looked like sticks and maybe a little bit of green coming out. Now, if you look at it, you can see a beautiful flower and several other little buds that are going to be flowers too. So as you can see, with God care, he's always there to take care of things better than we can, whether it's my plants that I'm not too good with or whether it's myself. And with him, he will be there to have my back and to help make my life better because of the way that he knows we need to love ourselves. Knowing God cares for me so deeply gives me peace and freedom to take care of the things that are most important. And And because God cares for us so much, he wants us to care for ourselves too, to love ourselves in the right way. It starts with looking at the way he wants to be loved. In Mark 12 and Matthew 22, God talks about the greatest commandment, or Jesus does. And the greatest commandment is that we are to love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. That includes every part of our being, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, mentally, and physically. And then he says we are to love our neighbors as ourselves. He knows that in order for us to love others, we need to love ourselves. In some ways, we naturally and innately love ourselves. We come into this world pretty much demanding what we want. As a baby, we express very clearly that we need something. When we cry, it's either food, a diaper change, or just wanting to be held. And then we learn to talk and keep expressing those needs. And, so we kind of know how to take care of ourselves. We get what we want as a baby. Paul uses a similar analogy when he tells husbands to love their wives as they love their own bodies, assuming that we will all feed and care for our bodies. He talks about that in Ephesians 5. However, in this day and age, we can't always assume that people naturally know how to love themselves. With people's past, our work schedules, the pressure of image, and the many cares of family and friends, we need God's help. Sometimes our needs are met correctly. I'm very grateful for how my family and my parents met my needs to be loved. Sometimes they are not. And when they are not, we need to learn how to love ourselves correctly. So I believe God begins to teach us how when he asks us to deny our purely selfish desires, so we can learn how to love ourselves correctly by taking care of our heart, our mind, our soul, and strength. He knows that when we allow him to teach us how to care for ourselves correctly, no matter how tired, unloved, discouraged, down, or even when we feel like giving up, he will revive us. So you see, when we are loving God in these ways, then we will learn how to love ourselves in the same way. God is not a selfish God. He wants us to have everything he has. As I read this passage, I hear God commanding me to love him, my neighbor, and myself with all of my heart, soul, mind, and strength. So in the next 4 videos, we will double down on how to love ourselves emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically with God's help by taking care of our hearts, our mind, our soul, and our bodies physically, our strength. Until the next time, treasure God's care, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for listening.